Hi, and welcome to Geek Family Kitchen. Today I'm here with my husband Ray,
Hello.
and we're going to be making.
We're going to be making prop lightsabers.
Yay.
All right. What kind of gave me the idea for this kind of project is the lightsaber is one of the most iconic props from science fiction movies, like ever. And every kid, wanted one when they were growing up. And while, since the 1980s or so, the movie props have been made out of either machined aluminum or cast resin for the stunt ones. The originals from the original movie were made out of things like 1940s era flash camera, uh, sink drains and handles, and all kinds of other little odds and ends just, put together. And that's kind of what we're talking about doing here today, taking a whole bunch of little odds and ends and putting them together to make a lightsaber.
So here's what you'll need.
To start with, you'll need a half-inch dowel for the lightsaber handles.
I don't get to play with it.
No, you're putting it in my face.
You'll need some fine sandpaper and some coarse sandpaper.
We have a whole bunch of plumbing odds and ends we got on clearance at the hardware store. We've got some adjustable faucet heads. See those? It's really cheap. And a pair of sink handles. Just pretty standard stuff. You're going to need a pair of half-inch hose clamps. And again, the reason why we have pairs of these things is we're making two of them. So, if you're only making one, you don't need quite as much stuff. A couple inch and a half wood screws. Going to need a sheet of black craft film. Then you're going to need a file, a drill, and some kind of sawing utensil. We have a big one. Anyway.
You'll need some metallic finish spray paint, some E6000. We're also going to use some hot glue. And then we have our kyber crystal.
There you go. These are medium-sized chunks of amethyst, by the way. They were not expensive at all.
But you could get different kinds of uh, crystals. This will turn your blade.
Yeah, we're going to have the purple blades.
They don't have real blades, but. And then you'll need just a small jewel, or these are semi-precious stones for the button. And then we're also going to use some plastic gloves because we're going to be messing with epoxy.
Yeah, you need some kind of clay. You can use either paper clay. You can use polymer clay, but if so, your sink handles need to be made out of acrylic instead of plastic, or these will melt when you bake your polymer clay. And you'll see why you need all that together in a bit. So we're using some leftover steel stick epoxy we had from another project.
Okay.
All right. Did we mention the hot glue?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Then we're ready to go.
Okay. The first step is going to be to cut down our stick into the size that we want for our lightsaber. And how long do you think it should be?
Well, I like to kind of just gauge it, put your hands on it, see where it would be comfortable for you. This is going to go and attach to the bottom.
They can't see that.
It's going to attach to the bottom at some point, so you want your hand to be able to comfortably fit. So for me, I would say about there.
Okay, you gotta mark that.
I'm going to mark that. Did not actually say we needed a pencil for this project, so I'm going to scratch on it with my handy-dandy wood screw. We're high-tech. There we go. And then you can measure your side. And that's another nice thing. Once you get the stick, you can make probably 3 or 4 out of one stick. You like that?
Mm-hmm.
So about there?
About there.
Okay. Precision measurements. That's what we go with here.
Alright, so we're going to cut that now, and we'll be back when we're done with that.
Alright, that didn't take long. Nobody got hurt, fortunately. So we've got our properly sized. So we're going to take the, starting with the heavy grit sandpaper and kind of smooth it off. You don't have to be perfect when you're doing the ends because one end's getting covered by this and the other end's getting covered by that. But the handle, you're going to want to get nice and smooth. When I bought this dowel, it was only like 97 cents, but it was kind of rough. So we're going to want to get some sandpaper on there.
If you don't want a bunch of sawdust in your house, you can do this outside. But we have wood floors, so they're pretty easy to clean up.
Okay, next step will involve using this. Now, these, try to get this close to the camera, they actually come with a bolt inside, and then they have a removable cap on the outside. So if you just push on that bolt, the cap comes off, and you can see the screw. Now, we won't be using the bolt because we're using it attached to wood. But as you can see, we're going to be able to put our wood screws in there, and we're going to be able to, attach these using our wood screws there. So we're going to drill a little pilot hole with the drill, and then we're going to screw those in. So important to drill a pilot hole so you don't split the dowel. If you do end up splitting the dowel, if you got one of these big ones, you can always try again. We're already having way too much fun with these now that we got the pommels attached. That's going to be so cool. Alright, so put the caps back on, and next step will be to play with the putty. So these instructions that are going to happen are specific to using this kind of epoxy putty. First of all, you're going to want some gloves. Second of all, we're going to get out the old steel stick. There. You've never seen this stuff before. It's this tube of gray clay, and on the inside, it's a darker gray. So you take off what you need. You see right there, the middle is really dark. Stick in. Here, have some clay. Then we're gonna knead that together until it is one uniform color. And when it's one uniform color, that's when you know that it's activated. And you have about 10-15 minutes after that before it turns into pretty much a hunk of metal. It's got steel shavings reinforcing the epoxy resin. Alright, so I got a little tuber of the stuff. This is not my stick, is it?
He's trying to steal my sword, my lightsaber. Already.
Use it to cover the gap between the dowel and the pommel. Alright, here we are with our pommels fully attached and blended down with the clay bits. Now the next step is going to be sliding the hose clamp into place. And that's literally all you have to do is just slide it down into place. So you want to feel where your hand's going to be and put it so it's like, your thumb would be resting on it. Kind of like that. Ooh, it's warm. I'm talking about the
Epoxy.
the epoxy. It warms.
Oh, it's a chemical reaction.
So there we go. So that's about where I want mine. So one of the neat things about this, even though we're using the same tools, our lightsaber is going to turn out looking
very different.
Very different because They're different lengths. Like yours at the top.
I like mine at the top.
All right. There you go. Okay. You cannot work on this project without making lightsaber noises. It's not going to happen. Alrighty. Now, if you don't feel this is secure enough, it's got a thread on it. You can tighten that down just as much as you want. In fact, we probably will give it a little bit of tightening up. And if you really wanted to, you could glue it into place, but that's not really necessary. All right. Now, the next step is actually optional at this point. See, these have this nice little chrome stripe, and they're black at the top. If you want to keep that color scheme, do not attach these yet, because we're going to spray this paint all of this with the chrome. Now, if you want this whole thing to be silver and chrome, then go ahead and attach it. These come in two pieces. You just unscrew it, and that is 1/2 inch. So, with a little bit of a whittling down there, this is going to attach on the top perfectly, just like that.
And that's what you need the file for.
Yeah, so you just take the file and you start shaping the edge here just a little bit.
And whether you decide to do the whole thing in chrome or not, you need to go ahead and fit it and file it down, because once you
paint it,
you don't want to have to file it.
So, if you're like me and almost criminally impatient, you can also get a nice little wood carving set to do some shaping on the tip of your dowel here to get the better fit. Hello.
Okay, we're back. It's actually been a few days.
Yeah.
And I'll tell you why, so that you don't run into this problem if you do this. Okay, so we spray painted these, and it looked really good.
For about a minute.
Until we started handling them. I had forgotten to rough up the plastic and this part so that it would hold the paint good. So as soon as I picked it up, it started coming off on my hand.
Fingerprints everywhere. It was not pretty.
It looked terrible. So we roughed it up, spray painted it again.
You will remember what you were going to say.
Oh, I remember.
I actually spray painted it the second time, and I am not good at spray painting. In fact, I should not be allowed near a spray paint bottle. We've decided that.
The bottom wasn't spray painted at all, and it takes a good 24 hours for them to dry, and so we ended up having to spray paint them a third time, and then let them dry.
Another 24 hours.
Another 24 hours, and then to seal it, we use the ever-famous Mod Podge # not sponsored.
But it worked really well. It created a nice fingerprint-proof shell around them, and they look really good. It's the wooden dowels. I'm not sure how well you can see this on camera. Are really holding the paint. The tone is very even with the plastic and the metal parts, so it all looks fairly homogeneous, which is kind of what you want. You want it all to look kind of spacely and all that kind of good stuff. So that step's finally done. We can move on.
Okay, so the next step is?
Next step is decoration. Now, this is the part where you can have the most variety in what you want to do. You can make them out of pretty much, whatever you want. But just to keep things simple, for the video, we have our sheet of black craft foam that we're going to use to put grips on our lightsabers. Now, I'd actually tried this project a few years back with a couple of different pieces, so I thought I'd show what I had done originally, so you can just have an example of some of the variety of things that you can actually do. So I'll get what's left of this. Our boys have gotten a hold of it, so it's starting to fall apart a little bit. But got the little windshield wiper stripe hand grips going on the bottom. This is actually a piece from a bicycle handlebar rubber grip that I had cut down to fit, but that was awfully bulky and it kind of looks funny with the rest of it. So I didn't really want to go with that. But you can do vertical stripes, horizontal stripes. Deborah was talking about doing something pretty interesting with hers.
Well, I thought about it, but we only have the one sheet of craft foam, so I'm probably not going to do it. But you could do swirls. Well,
I think you could do swirl.
let's see how much you use.
Oh, you want me to go? No pressure.
No pressure.
Air pressure. No. Right. I'm going to be keeping mine simple. Alrighty then. So, let's start measuring, I guess. Let's see. How do I want this to I'm going to do something different. I'm going to do I think we're going to do the vertical stripe grips on the top and then nothing on the bottom. For one thing, it's got the taper here, and that would be hard to put grippy things around. And it's different. It's different from what I've tried before. So, just kind of lay that out. I'm using the ultra precision measuring tool of my finger to, and got the little exacto knife out here. Before we get too started, we have our handy dandy crafting cutting board. This used to be just a regular cutting board, and then we retired it when it got too scratched up. So now we use it for crafting projects. It's great for rolling out polymer clay and stuff you don't want to get on actual eating surfaces. So I've always been tempted to try to do replicas of the movie ones, but when you do that, you're opening up that can of worms of how good a replica you do, and then there's always people out there who really harp on the little differences when you try to make a replica and it's not absolutely movie perfect. And who needs that? So making one that isn't movie perfect, one that's unique, is a nice form of artistic expression. That is beautiful. That is really cool. I love it. I'm so glad that Deborah decided to make me a lightsaber.
Oh,
Isn't
no,
that
this
very
is
sweet? Isn't that sweet of her?
This is so right.
But I like it. Anyhow, no, I'm going to stick with my original idea. And she's right about the hot glue making the craft foam spread and conform to the shape easier. Because that original one I showed you guys, it had the self-adhesive backing on the craft foam. And that worked pretty good for about, a month. And the edges started peeling up as it tried to go straight instead of staying around the curve of the lightsaber there. It's kind of showing off the differences in our personalities. I've got the vertical stripe thing going on. And I'm thinking about adding a set of horizontal rings to the bottom. And here you've got this beautiful swirly diagonal kind of. And this is why we don't have nice things.
Like arms.
Like arms. This is where we can't have nice things. Like arms. That's super cool, man. Yeah. Alright, I got vertical grips on the top, and I've got the horizontal ribbing on the bottom.
And I have spiral grips.
Show from a better angle there. Nice. I'm kind of happy with how that turned out.
I'm very happy with mine.
Yours is really impressive. That is really cool. Alright, so we only have a couple steps left, and then we are done with this particular project. Just have to put our little activation studs and our kyber crystals. So this is pretty much the same thing we just did. It's hot glue, and you stick it thing. So, would you like to go first?
No, go ahead.
Okay. I've never tried this with hot glue before, so I'm not exactly sure how much that's going to stand up to rough handling. Not that I run around in the woods and play Star Wars with lightsabers. I built myself or anything like that. Anyway, but this one, like I said, is how old is this?
You know it's a little overcast today.
Anyway, this is the same original one I put on this, and this is years and years old, so it's held up pretty well.
I used a piece of, I don't know if you can see that, hematite, so mine is kind of silvery looking.
That looks really cool. It kind of matches. Got a very strong contrasting color scheme going on there.
If you get a chip of amethyst or whatever kind of crystal you want to use, you can kind of play around with the different ways that it fits in and decide which one you like best before you glue.
There we go. It's like it sits better the other way, but this is the side that has all the pretty clear. Yeah, I didn't do it so that it would overflow once I stuck the thing in, which is good. So, yeah, that's awesome. That's sitting in pretty good. There we go. Got it sticking out a bit. Kind of Tales of the Jedi there, where you got the larger crystals sticking out at the top. This one I was very fortunate to find a flat piece, so it just sits right in there, and you can't even really see it when you're looking at it from the side. So I guess that's more realistic for your imaginary force-powered laser sword. You know, just to put that in perspective. So here we go. That's a finished lightsaber.
Yay!
Check those out. That's really fun. Look at what we made this. Look at that. Fun fact, if you didn't know that, on every single movie after the first one, when they were especially during the original trilogy, I mean not the original trilogy, when they were doing the prequel trilogy, all the actors like Liam Neeson and Ewan McGregor and Hayden Christensen and Ray Park and all those people were doing all the really high intensity lightsaber fights. They had to do take after take, in part because they would be caught on film and on sound making the lightsaber noises while they were swinging the lightsabers. Because you can't help it.
You really can't.
But the fun part is like imagining Liam Neeson, he's got the Jesus hair and the beard and everything, and he's very, he's very intense. Going shoo, 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 That's just funny.
That's funny. So anyway, that's
Lightsabers! Ah!
I got your arm.
It's a lightsaber, not a club. No.
Bye-bye, arm.
So I'm very happy.
Aww.
We've got kind of a semi-match set though. It's kind of cute. We got little husband-wife lightsabers. We are geeky and adorable.
Yeah.
So until next time. Bye-bye.
Bye.